Hey, good morning. It's your host, David Barry, again for our episode 5. Weeks are just flying by, and episode 5 of Money Matters because it does, and because we care about all of our leading California members. So, Terry, I know, don't get nervous. I'm not going to share my screen, but I am going to share with you that one of my clients I just closed a house with, they bought me this amazing mug. And check it out, Terry. It even has my name on it. I mean, this is one of the nicest gifts I've ever gotten from a client. Super happy in Las Vegas, and they just got their new house last week. So having a great week out here in Vegas. How you guys doing in your neck of the woods, Terry?
Hot, but we're going to get rain the rest of the week here in Florida, and we can use it because the lakes are a little low. But life is great in the freedom that we enjoy in Florida.
And Mr. Monty, how are you doing there in Dallas, sir?
And we started to reread the story of Noah in the Bible over the past few weeks because we were getting so much rain that it truly was like flash flooding. There was a tornado. It was wild. So
Yeah,
I think this week is calm again, and we're back to normal
that's
Texas
great.
heat. Yeah.
Well, you know what, Monty? You had said last week that there's going to be some interesting reports, and I know everybody's kind of on the edge of their seats, and they can't wait to hear what you've got from the new reports. And let's hear some good news, Monty. What do you got?
Okay. Well, good thing I have good news. That would be hard to follow if I didn't. So, yes, what we see and what we hear in the media, as we know, is not always the truth. So, the biggest thing was despite stronger than expected job growth in May, there still really are signs that our labor marketing is softening. Other thing is we got some appreciating home values. Again, more reports on that showing what we've been talking about over the past few months. It's continuing to go up. It's still a great time to buy. So there's great opportunity in home ownership. There was a big discrepancy in the jobs data. Private payrolls, which is just like ADP, we'll break that down in a minute, a little bit more. That shows weakness as well. We had job openings continuing to contract, so less and less jobs. And then the initial jobless claims hit a 4-week high. So all of that suggesting where we are in the labor market. But that fun, awesome bottom line is there's still opportunity. We're still seeing houses go up in value. So how long are you going to sell on the sideline before you jump in? That's kind of the high level good news for this week, Terry.
Well, and Monty, tell us, I think that affected interest rates a little bit too, right? Didn't they come down a little bit because of the expected higher unemployment rate?
Well, yeah, yes, they did all week. We saw that happen. But then the big discrepancy is what we're having to correct now. It's what we're telling everybody because when that jobs report came out on Friday, it looked like the opposite of what they were expecting. It looked like, oh, we have lots more jobs than we thought we did. So rates actually took a dive and they got worse on Friday. And so that was really frustrating to see us drop 40 plus basis points in one day. Yeah. So let me explain to you what I mean by that. That jobs report, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BLS report, it reported that we got 272,000 jobs created in May, which was much stronger than what they had predicted all week. That was 185,000. So nearly 100,000 more jobs were created, supposedly, than what they expected. However, the negative revisions for March and April, they do this every single time. They go back and they revise the previous ones. They revised those down 15,000 jobs in those months. That combined with the unemployment rate meant that we're now at 4%, not 3.9. So it's rising. We're seeing a rising unemployment rate. That's the highest we've seen since January of 2022. So,
Well, and with that, I think that what they are telling us also is that a lot of those jobs that were created are part-time jobs. Is that right?
yeah, back in October, we started noticing this even more and we started talking about it. And it really gets emotional when you start thinking about what's behind this. The American people are having to take second and third jobs just to make ends meet. Credit card debt is at an all-time high. So you've got people overspending and then having to get second and third jobs to try to make ends meet. And that somehow is reported in these reports then as great news. We created more jobs. Not really.
Well, and
So
are
yeah,
a lot of those jobs going to illegal immigrants?
that I don't have the data on, so it could be. It certainly could be, but I don't know for sure to say whether that's true or not. The bottom line is it's important to look at both surveys. We get different parts in a jobs report, and so which they just tell different stories. And so you've got to go look at all the data before you take one headline and just pull it out and say this is what it is. That headline jobs number that we got, that's based predominantly on the modeling and estimations. One of the biggest reasons we saw large job gains last month was the birth death model. That tracks the number of births and the number of deaths, whereas that BLS jobs report estimate, that's new business creation relative to closed businesses. So how many actual jobs were created? It's frustrating, but yeah.
So, just so for our members, what are we hoping for? Are we hoping that more people lose their jobs and they're not working? I mean, and you say it's good news, but it's really bad news for a
It
lot of
is
people.
sad.
So what should
Correct.
all of our members be hoping for, and what and maybe you could share. I know you don't have the crystal ball, or maybe you do back there and you want to share it with us, but what does the crystal ball look like?
Yeah, it's a great question, David. It is sad. We can see data and hope that it moves in a direction that helps our own family, but often that data moving in that direction means hardship for other people. Take the pandemic, for example. That was really bad on a lot of people. Wrecked marriages, wrecked lives, wrecked finances, drove people to drink. I mean, like literally, it was really sad and bad, but yet we saw the lowest interest rates and it was awesome. And so there's good and bad in everything. Yes, when we see people lose jobs, when we see unemployment, that is a bad thing. I believe, this is personal opinion, conjecture here, if the Fed could really see what's happening, if they could pull that curtain back and see the American family that's in credit card debt, working second and third jobs, not kissing their kids goodnight, uh, then they might make different decisions. They might say, "Hey, we need to start making some cuts here.
Yeah.
We are already where we intended to be. We just didn't see it like that. It's a number. It's not a family." So,
Yeah.
Well,
the
let's all. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the interesting thing is when you get data from another source, it tells a very different story. ADP was the one that really stood out because ADP is where most people do payroll. I mean, the big companies, they're using ADP to run their payroll. And so we got an employment report from them that showed that private payrolls rose less than expected, which is more than what we thought. Employers added only 152,000 new jobs versus what they even expected, 175,000. So it was the opposite story and more like what we think is actually going on in America right now.
So that could mean that we're getting more government jobs, correct? Because it's not private. I think that there's an expansion of government going on right now. And
Yeah.
let me also add this. We know that historically in presidential election years, rates tend to drop over time. I know here in Florida, we've seen a dramatic drop in gasoline prices. Well, for whatever reason, the economy seems to sound a little better each presidential election. And I'm not sure if it's because of the incumbent has some kind of influence or not. But the reality is that people are leaving California in droves. They're continuing to leave California in droves. Home values in the South continue to rise. I know they've been predicting this massive crash. Well, if people are still moving here by the tens of thousands, and by the way, 800 people a day move to Florida, a day, 365 days a year, move to Florida, they're going to have to live somewhere. And if you think that the housing market's going to crash because more people are coming in, you've got it backwards. Now's the time to buy because your house is going to continue to appreciate. And Monty, as you said, every week you tell us that the reports come out that home values are continuing to rise in spite of high interest rates.
Yeah. No, that really, and that's true again here. CoreLogic, who we often quote, their home price index showed that home prices nationwide rose 1.1% in April after rising 1.2 in March. So that shows that the home price appreciation is remaining really, really strong this spring. Prices are also at 5.3% higher than they were when you compare to April of last year. So CoreLogic is forecasting that home prices will rise 0.8 in May, so a little bit less. That's 3.4 in the year going forward. Forecasts are typically on the conservative side. So as we saw April, they didn't forecast 1.1, but it actually was 1.1 now looking back. So it's possible that it'll be even higher. But when you start to add these up, we said last time we thought it was going to be more like 8% by the end of this year. Anybody would jump into a market that was making 8% regardless of what the interest rate is. That's a good decision if you knew you could get 8% return on your house, on your money, when it doesn't even take 8% to buy a house. You could put 5% down and get 8% back. It's more than 100% return on your money. So ICE, that's formerly Black Knight. Black Knight's a huge service that also takes into account. They also reported that national home values rose. They said 0.3 in April after seasonal adjustment. Their index shows that prices are more like 5.1 instead of the 5.3. So don't get lost in the minutia of it. It means that we're 5.1, 5.3 higher than we were a year ago. That's awesome. The bottom line is the latest rise in these home prices from ICE and CoreLogic, that echoes that strong growth seen by all these other indices like Case-Shiller. We quote them a lot of times, or the Federal Housing Finance Agency, FHFA. Those are all continuing to demonstrate why home ownership remains a good opportunity for building wealth in real estate.
You know, I want to share a little story. I don't know if you guys, hopefully you don't watch the news, but and Monty, you allude to this a lot. You know, sometimes the media lies. We know that sometimes the government lies. But the interesting thing is whether you believe that people lie or not. That's one thing. But the fact that when we're talking to you, what we're really saying is don't just believe on one source.
Yeah.
Get multiple opinions. Don't just, you see one news show and then you believe that. But Mr. Trump was here yesterday, Terry, out at Sunset Park. He had 25,000 people. And it was so funny. And I watched a little bit of it. And he said the media won't show how many people are here. Like they don't want you to think that there's a lot of people there for the rally. And they only have this little tight shot of him with maybe like 80 people. But he's got 25,000 people at Sunset Park yesterday. It was 110 degrees. And the guy just kept going and going and going. It was crazy. But anyway, my point is don't just listen to one source. And yes, unfortunately, the media does lie and our government has lied to us. We do know that for a fact. Sorry, I didn't mean to get off on a tangent, Monty. What else you got for us today?
Well, just on that point, David, I think if people struggle to say that they lie, then just know that they're needing to sell. Businesses have to sell. And so it's shock value and it's bringing your attention to something they think you'll click on and consume. And so I think it's all in the way they say it. Whether it's a lie or not, I don't know, but they are going to go for the shock value and things that are negative because negative sells. If you think about two stories, one positive, one negative, the negative always sells way more. It's just human psychology. So bottom line for this week, I'll wrap up by saying, what are we looking at this week? We've got the Fed meeting this week. That starts tomorrow on Tuesday, and that's a 2-day meeting. So by Wednesday, when they're done, we'll get our usual statement out of there. They're going to give their monetary policy statement. We'll also have the press conference on Wednesday. So that's going to definitely affect the markets this week. They're going to dissect the inflation data, the unemployment data. They're going to go through all of that this week. And so we'll see some interesting things come out. We're also going to get the consumer price index that's going to be released for May on Wednesday. That's inflation data. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting week ahead. Next Monday should be fun to break down.
I know I put you on the spot. Now I'm going to do it again. You don't have to be on the spot, but I'm going to give it a shot because I asked you about your crystal ball. What does the last quarter look like this year or this next quarter and the last quarter? What's your predictions and should people wait? I mean, I know a lot of people are still waiting on the sidelines, but maybe you could talk about the crystal ball as we wrap up and close.
Yeah, well, definitely don't have a crystal ball. Funny enough, there is a crystal ball award that they give away to people who can predict what's going to happen. But even the guy that I know that won it 3 times, he still gets it wrong a lot because nobody actually has won. What I believe is going to happen is I believe that the Fed will finally see the light, and as Terry mentioned, the presidential election is going to have a lot of impact on the closer we get to November, the more likely it is that the Fed will feel that pressure to make at least a cut of some kind, indicate there's hope, people can survive. So we think the last quarter of this year will see some positive improvement on rates. So that doesn't mean wait. That means the opposite of wait. It means buy now. We rolled out a program this week nationwide that means you don't even have to make a contingent offer. So I'm going to say that again. You do not have to make a contingent offer. We will help you buy that next house with the equity in your current house. It's amazing. I think we're going to do a ton of loans with this. So if you're in California and you feel like you're going to have to sell before you can buy, you don't. And even if you feel like you want to sell before you buy, and that makes you nervous because you don't know where you're going to buy, that would work. So I would tell you buy now, jump in while the appreciation is going. Because if you wait to the end of the year and rates are going down and that 8% appreciation is already hit, what's to say that that's going to slow at that point? So I would tell you get in while the getting's good, while you don't have as much competition, and take the shot of a lifetime right now. In that lifetime of that shot.
Well, Monty, you know that this channel and our show is all about stories, and you are going to have some amazing stories. I can't wait to hear about our members from California that thought that they had to wait to sell their home. And now we're going to be able to share stories that they didn't have to do that. And you have an amazing program, and I'm sure we're going to be talking more about that on future shows. What do you got to wrap up today, Terry?
I think that's a great program to initiate, Monty. And I love that idea that you don't have to sell your house first to have that money. You can go buy a house while you still own your house. I think that's a great program. And I found what I've heard is that actually people get more money for their home and get better deals because they're paying cash for a house out of state. If they're leaving California, they're getting better deals because they're offering cash because your company is paying cash for that house as opposed to saying we're contingent or we're financing. And so you tend to get better deals that way. And then you can sell your house in California, which they're still selling quickly in California, at least as of today. And you're able to make that move. The other thing I want to add is that, if you're not ready to buy out of state today, you still need to reach out to Monty to get your ducks in a row. Just because rates are up last week doesn't mean that you can't reach out to Monty and start the process. You don't have to lock your loan today. You're not locked into last week's rates just because they went up. Reach out to him now, even if you're buying a year from now. Start the relationship, start the conversation. He can walk you through that process. And I was a loan officer for many years, and I can't tell you how many people came to me and said, I'm ready to buy tomorrow. Please, I need to get pre-approved. Or they came to me without asking, and they bought a car the week before closing of escrow on financing, and that was a huge mistake. So work with someone like Monty, whether you're ready to buy today or you're ready to buy 6 months from now, a year from now. Start that conversation now with Monty. He can help you through that entire process so that financing is absolutely no issue when it comes time to close on that home that you want to buy outside of California.
Yeah.
Well, again, I'm your host, and this is episode 5 of Money Matters. Please like, comment, share. We're giving out, this is free information for our members. We want to help you guys. We want to help you make good decisions. We want you to, make good decisions with your money. So if you have a topic or you have some ideas or things that you need from us and you want us to talk a little bit more about or less about, please don't hesitate. Make sure you like, comment, and share. We love doing this show. We'll see you next week. And we hope that this week is an amazing week. And by the way, almost forgot, to both of you two and to me, happy Father's Day on Sunday to all our dads out there. And we will talk to you guys soon. Have a great day.